Good evening, everyone. I'm Lissy Bastian. It's great having you back with us. The Bahamas has been blacklisted by France for not being cooperative enough in financial transparency. That from French Public Action and Accounts Minister Gerald Darmanin. Noticeably upset Finance Minister Peter Turnquest addressed the matter in the House of Assembly today, revealing that he met with the French ambassador this morning, where he expressed his total disappointment, disgust, and anger with the move, adding that while in France just last week, no indication was given that they were considering blacklisting the Bahamas.
The Bahamas has gone through significant pains to pass a suite of legislation, much to the disdain of the industry, that has made us uncompetitive in some regards. And yet, rather than our partners having the diplomacy, the respect to at least engage with the state at the highest level, that is with the competent authority, the Minister of Finance, or if that is insufficient, with the Prime Minister of the country, they proceed in a less than transparent manner to damage the reputation of the Bahamas by placing it on a list.
Mr. Turnquest further explained that the listing relates to the tax information exchange with France and the perception by French authorities that the Bahamas has not been responding to requests in a satisfactory and timely manner.
The cases at question concern sensitive matters involving French nationals. While the ministry has responded to these matters pursuant to our agreement, French authorities are of the view that our responses were not sufficient. It is disappointing and regrettable that France did not engage the dispute resolution mechanisms provided in the Multilateral Convention on Mutual Assistance in Tax Matters, which we signed in December of 2017, to facilitate the exchange of information for tax purposes. This demonstrates a complete disregard for the damaging repercussions and significant long-term impact that these unilateral punitive measures have on allied countries like the Bahamas that are fully engaged at the highest level of international cooperation.
The DPM added that the government plans to formally communicate their feelings on the matter to global partners like the European Union and the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. Well, the opposition's chiming in, expressing outrage in France's decision to add the Bahamas to its blacklist. Opposition leader Philip Davis says for years the country has been under assault in respect to one of its contributing arms of the gross domestic product. Pointing no fingers in this regard, the opposition leader cautions the finance minister to first seek to discover the reason behind this action without being too bullish.
One of our challenges have been over the many years, not just with France, but many of our partners around the world, is our ability to respond to requests, either an extradition, multilateral, exchange of information, and it is because, and we have, during the course of the speech of passing of the speed of legislation, which is not only, as you pointed out, to the chagrin of the industry, but also to the chagrin of the Treasury.
Mr. Davis stressed that even after passing laws to comply with the international standards, enforcement, he says, is also key.
Enforcement requires proper resourcing and setting up of the various structure to be able to respond. And the Attorney General's office is the pivotal or the competent authority in most instances to which these requests have been made. And we have been lamenting for quite a while. We've been lamenting for quite a while, not just now. Our shoring up and ensuring that they are as responsible as they ought to be.
The Bahamas was among 4 countries to be blacklisted by France, including Anguilla, the Virgin Islands, and the Seychelles. The Air Accident Investigation Authority Bill 2019 presented in the House of Assembly this morning. Minister of Aviation Denisio Diagler says the bill seeks to update the country's aviation legislation that governs the investigation of air accidents.
Consideration was given to the comments of local, regional, and global industry stakeholders and accident investigation legislation of Barbados, Jamaica, the Dominican Republic, Mexico, and the United Kingdom. The proposed Accident Investigation Authority legislation incorporates all the desired policy and legislative changes envisioned in Amendment 15, mainly by 1. Establishing the Air Accident Investigation Authority and its functional independence, Sections 5 and 6 of the bill. Establishing how the authority and the relevant departments of the government are to interact during investigations, Section 12. Its designation of the competent authorities and their role in protecting records and administering a balancing test to determine if the record should be released for reasons other than safety, Sections 20 and 21. Providing protection against investigators being compellable to appear as witnesses in any judicial, administrative, or disciplinary proceedings relating to apportioning blame or liability of an accident, Section 22, and describing the procedures for the protection and dissemination of reports, Sections 24, 25, and 26. The proposed Accident Investigation Authority legislation incorporates all of the desired policy and legislative changes envisioned in Amendment 16, mainly by 1. The adoption of new procedures as it relates to access to evidential material during the investigation. This is achievable by the designation of the competent authorities, Regulation 1.165 subsection B, and their role in protecting records and administering a balancing test to determine if the record should be released for reasons other than safety, that's Sections 20 and 21 of the bill. The adoption of new practices related to monitoring the progress of actions taken in response to safety recommendations. This is to be achieved by the provisions of Section 27 of the bill and Subdivision 3, Safety Recommendations Regulation 1.400, 1.405, and 1.410 of the draft regulations.
The minister says in future, whomever has responsibility for aviation will also be responsible for the Air Accident Investigation Authority, adding that the new bill incorporates changes that were recommended by the United Nations International Civil Aviation Authority. Seconder of the bill, Minister of Transport Renwick Wells, added this.
Additionally, with the legislative outlay set to happen for the sector in mid-2020, the Aircraft Accident Authority will continue to develop, and we're looking forward to it, Mr. Speaker. As we are coming out ahead of the game, during that period, we will use the expertise of the visiting aviation experts to assist in the development of additional policies, procedures, and manuals to ensure that the Bahamas has the highest quality of air accident response team in the region, and, Mr. Speaker, I dare say, the world. Mr. Speaker, this bill and its accompanying regulations will bring our air accident legislation up to date and set the foundation to remedy several issues facing our developing aviation industry.
Many Bahamians have called for improvements in the national response to aircraft accidents in Bahamian waters. Delvin Major will head this authority. Another report from the Department of Social Services revealing that 99% of residents in East End, Grand Bahama did not have homeowners insurance, 96% in West End, and 70% in Freeport. Now the government's left to figure out ways to assist the many residents in this perplexing situation, according to Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Finance Peter Turnquest. The East Grand Bahama Member of Parliament added that this is an area that the public needs to be educated on, as he says homeowners insurance is like health insurance. For those caught without insurance post-Dorian, the DPM noted that help is being made available. You're watching JCN News. Stay with us.
This segment of the news was brought to you by Alive.